Hey guys, Stuart Charles here, HomeStudioBasics.com, helping you make sound decisions. So let's get right into the AKG K240 versus the Samson SR850 comparison video comparison. Now, what are the main differences in sound here? Right off the bat, treble. Treble. The treble on the 850 is going to be really bright, pretty sibilant, honestly, very peaky. Like, when I first got the headphone, I didn't really think it was too bad, but the more I spend time with it, the more it's almost intolerable. I'm kind of disappointed to have to say that, but I still think it's a really good value for around 50 bucks. Can't really go wrong for gaming. You're just gonna notice a lot of bite, essiness, which is very hot. It gets fairly irritating fairly quickly. By contrast, the AKG K240's treble is a lot more relaxed. You can listen to these a lot longer. You're not going to get like any bite or sizzle or sibilance in that treble area. It's just more toned back, and I will flash a couple measurements that I did of both of these so you can kind of see the differences. Aside from that, that's pretty much the main difference. Mid-range, with the 850, there's a bump around 2K. Because the treble is so much brighter than anything on this headphone, the 2K bump is gonna sound good because, you know, vocals and instruments sound very crisp, forward, engaging, and lively. It's just that treble area that kind of spoils it. On the K240, the bump here is instead around 5K, and then after 5K it kind of rolls off. You can listen with these for forever. I mean, there's just
forever and ever and ever.
It's a really pleasant experience, and honestly, the K240 sounds better to me with pretty much every song. The only exception was a song by Chan called Bubble Dream. It sounded more crisp and had a lot more energy. The only song I preferred out of the 850 versus the K240, so by a landslide margin, the K240 for me wins out. Bass on both is pretty similar. There's actually a little bit more mid-bass emphasis on the SR850. It's just going to sound a little bit better for bass-heavier genres, but again, this is a very subtle difference, but you will notice it. I found the 850 to be a little bit punchier, a little bit better as far as, you know, listening to like hip-hop, EDM, indie pop, those types of genres, but I still enjoy the K240 for those. But just know that the K240's bass is very lean. With both, you can hear the intricacies and nuance of the bass line, but for whatever reason, I think it has to do with soundstage a little. The K240 just sounds better. Because it's trying to be less detailed, it actually comes across as more detailed, which is interesting. I read something today. Yeah, Tile put it really well in his HD660 review. He said a lot of people mistake bright treble as somehow meaning that the headphone has more detail, when in actuality that's really not the case. It's especially true for a headphone like the 850. It does sound detailed, but it's a little bit of an artificial amount of detail, whereas with the K240, it's just a really natural, organic, smooth detail it's more realistic, it's more natural sounding. This manifests on pretty much every track I listen to. I was enjoying listening to the K240 so much that honestly, it was like hearing music for the first time, and that's a little bit of a cliche in audiophile land, but it's actually true for some headphones. Specifically, like when you first hear an HD600 or something like that, the K240 definitely falls in line with that type of experience, because it makes you want to listen to music. It makes you want to go back and hear all of your old favorites, old classics. Like, I was listening to a lot of old soul music, oldies, like Martha Reeves and the Vandellas, stuff that my mom listens to, man. Like, it sounds amazing with these. Like, I would say both of these headphones sound good with like older types of rock music that's not too bass heavy. I would say soundstage is actually a little bit better on the 240. Instruments and vocals, and you're just gonna be able to hear a lot of more subtlety than even an 850. And the 850 it's very good in that regard, but the K240 actually sounds better. I don't know, it makes you excited about music listening to a K240. And keep in mind, this is the K240M 600 ohm, made in Austria. Came out around 1984, 1985. So it's almost negligible, the amount of bass that the 850 has versus the 240. You will notice that the 240 is a little bit leaner. You get a more out of your head type of feeling. Like with the K240, I thought that something was going on to my left, about 20 feet away. I didn't get that feeling with the 850. So on Postal Service Clark Gable, vocals and instruments sound a lot more natural on the 240. A bit warmer and less abrasive. I mean, this is a running theme, but with the 850, there was more bite to the treble, a definite sibilance, SE, but does sound a bit more open and crisper by contrast. There are certain instances, like with Chan's Bubble Dream, that the perceived issues and problems in the treble actually works to the 850's advantage. With stuff like harder rock, metal type of genres, you're still not going to really get the bass impact that you need as you would with something like an HD25, which I just absolutely love for metal. I always recommend that headphone for harder stuff because there's a lot of slam, weight, and impact that you're just not going to get here. With Wilco's Impossible Germany, the spacing and separation of instruments is sublime with the K240. Bass is very, very lean though, almost not even there. But if you're not a bass head, you don't really care about that, this is still just a fantastic headphone. Like I would almost say that everybody should have one of these, akin to something like a 7506 or a V6 from Sony. It should just be a staple in every audiophile's collection, in my opinion. The 850 here had a little bit, definitely more bass thump, like I said. A little bit more sibilant SE, of course. Sound is also more sterical and clinical overall, but this obviously has to do with that really peaky treble. The separation and spacing of instruments was not quite as good as a 240 and didn't have as wide of a soundstage. Yeah, I mentioned Chan's Bubble Dream. The K240 did not do as well with this song. It sounded kind of muffled and a bit distant. It wasn't as open as the 850, and this is the only song that I prefer the 850 over the K240. With the 850, it was perfect for this genre and others like it. There was a perfect amount of crunch. It was lively and engaging, and the sibilance here was almost negated. As I mentioned, it worked to its advantage. With Campolo's Lucchini, aka This Is It, the vocals on the 240 sounded more forward. The bass sounded pretty good, but of course, like I said, this is not going to be a headphone that you're going to want to listen to a lot of hip-hop with, although it sounds very good. It's just not going to have that impact. With the 850, the treble was immediately bitey. Vocals were more forward, but not as refined sounding as a 240. The word I was looking for earlier was refinement. The K240, it has that sense of lifelike detail, lifelike refinement, where everything just sounds very intimate, but in a mostly natural way. Very smooth, kind of buttery mid-range way. Kevin Garrett, A Heart Like Yours. The 240 was warmer sounding, lush, not biting, and the separation of instruments was slightly better. Of course, 850, same thing, a bit sibilant and a bit SE. It's something that you're not going to be able to escape from. You're probably going to want to go Metal 571 here and EQ that bad boy down, like 5 dB or more. With Santana's Everything Is Coming Our Way, which is one of my mom's favorite songs. The soundstage was incredible. You can hear the rhythm guitar and exactly what it was doing. This is something that really astounded me with especially older music. It becomes that much more clear and articulate to where it's like putting music under a microscope. You can just hear everything going on, and that's something that's hard for me to put into words, and you will only understand what I'm talking about when you hear it. It's like the rhythm guitar it comes to the forefront. It kind of demands your attention. You can hear every individual pluck and strum. You know how sometimes when you're listening to music with cheaper headphones, some stuff you can hear, but then other parts of the rhythm get lost. With a headphone like the K240, like I said, it makes you want to listen to every piece of music ever recorded. Again, the 850 on Santana's Everything's Coming Our Way. Sound is more sterile and clinical. It seems to have more air, but it's a tad fabricated. It's just too much fabrication sometimes. Like it's trying to do too much. It's trying to be. I don't understand why they made the treble so bright. It's like it's so unnecessary. Like a Grado 2K spike. It's just why? Why would you do that? But it's not to say the 850 is a bad headphone. It's just outclassed here, and that's running theme of this video, as well as my article, which I will link below down in the description, homie. Check that shit out, alright? Read it and don't weep. With Smokey Robinson and the Miracles' Tears of a Clown, vocals seem more pushed back. Bassline is easier to distinguish. The song is more fun to listen to. The K240 outclasses it here. There's just a masterful rendition of the instruments and vocals around 152. And that's another great word to describe the 240. Just masterful, really. There's a reason why this is a legendary studio headphone, and it's been around for decades with many different iterations. It's just pretty much a perfect studio headphone, aside from the really lean bass response, which I can deal with. You may not be able to, but I think that everybody will appreciate this headphone in some form or fashion. So yeah, with the 850, the backing vocals heard were much clearer, which was a little bit surprising to me, which is one of the only cases where the 850 sounded better, I guess. But the hi-hats sounded artificial, which is also another running theme. Hi-hats are pretty much always going to sound like that with an 850. What about build? The build is pretty similar on both of these. I mean, the 850 feels a tad heavier. The 850 is pretty much a knockoff of the 240. It actually has velour padding versus the faux leather on the 240. The 240's cups are also like a lot shallower. I kind of find it a tad problematic for long listening sessions. I mean, it's not going to really dig into your ear, but you're going to feel it there. It's not going to be too aggravating because of the fact that the headphone is so light and utilizes that really nice hammock adjustment that we all love. No adjustments necessary, just put that bad boy on your head and shut up and listen. Both of these are very, very plasticky. To be honest though, the 240M, the one I have here, it doesn't sound, or it doesn't feel as cheap as the Chinese made 240. They both have the same headband, although the 850's headband is a little bit sturdier feeling. It's a little stiffer, whereas the 240's is a little flimsier. It's not really something that you should be too concerned about, because both of these comfort levels, we'll get into comfort, they feel and sit pretty much the same on your head, although I think the 850 is going to be more comfortable over the long haul because of those velour ear pads, and also because of the fact that the cups are deeper. I still find that I'm having to make adjustments on both. Slight adjustments from time to time. These aren't headphones that you're gonna put on your head and forget about, like a 600 or something, or a 598. But I would say comfort it's not bad. It's pretty decent on both of them. Yeah, I think I like the fit of the 850 a little bit better. Both have around the same amount of clamp force. Both are very lightweight, obviously, and they sit really well. It's just that when I put a K240 on my head, it's just it's a little bit flabbier, looser feeling. The drivers are going to be touching your ears, the cloth covering the drivers anyway. Overall, I'd probably take the 850's comfort over the 240's. So amplification, this is interesting. The 850 is 32 ohm, 98 decibel sensitivity, so pretty efficient and doesn't resist power. But so you're not going to need an amp for the 850, obviously. But I plug it into an E10K. I've plugged into a HA2. I've plugged it into a JDS Labs Element, and I've plugged it into a Q1. Surprisingly, the 240 at 600 ohm, 91 decibel sensitivity was not as difficult to drive as I thought it was going to be. I plugged it into pretty much all the same amps, and yeah, I had to turn up the volume a lot more, but I still got a decently loud signal, and I was surprised. I was really actually shocked by this. It does need power. I'm not going to try to dance around that or sugarcoat it or anything like that, but there's probably an amp out there that sounds like absolutely sublime with this headphone, but why do I need to go and search it out? The headphone sounds sublime on its own without me having to do that. So still not a very efficient headphone, which is par for the course for most AKGs. So final word, I would say if I had to make a decision on either of these, I'd probably go with the 240 every day and twice on Sunday. I like the 850. Both are going to do well for gaming. 240 has better soundstage, which is very good if you consider that the 850 has very, very good soundstage on its own. The 240 is a clear winner here. There aren't many instances where I would take an 850 over a 240. So there's my final word. If you can't get your hands on a Austrian made, I would just go get the studio version. It's going to sound pretty much the same. Will be a little bit lighter, I think, from what I remember. This M version has a little bit more heft to it, but it's again almost negligible. And I go into very, very great detail and depth in my review. Definitely check that out, share it, like it, comment. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this review comparison. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to my growing channel. Let me know what I can do to improve. Let me know what I do well. And with that,
Check 1 2. I hope you enjoyed this review too. It was brought to you by Stu, who, me, the lyrical G, empirical dreams slide through like dream. PC gaming, letting off steam, got bars for days like a prison inmate. A misdemeanor's fate, no debate when I wake up. Okay, start my day with a cup and I pray I don't faint. I'm a saint of the Most High God, of the Most High God.